So let's begin Dark Souls 3.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, we're starting Dark Souls 3.
It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge.
We put our fantasy words in a generator, and this is what came out this time.
In venturing north, the pilgrims discover the truth of the old words.
The 7 words you can't say on television.
The fire fades, and the lords go without thrones.
And that was Dark Souls 3. Fortunately, we died. Actually, I don't think that's us yet.
When the link of fire is threatened, the bell tolls,
Hashtag Metallica.
unearthing the old lords of Cinder from their graves.
Featuring...
Saint of the Deep.
Imagine this in the Saturday Night Live voice, Don Pardo. Musical guest!
Baron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers.
With their patented traffic cone hats. And your host!
The reclusive lord of the profaned capital.
I'm up. Oh, shit.
Beyond the giant.
Now with less butthole face than in Dark Souls 2. More impactful if you could actually see his mouth be agape for scream, but it's okay, it's a big boy.
In truth, the lords will abandon their thrones. And the unkindled will rise.
Very slow.
Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder.
Hey! Rude?
And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
And that's your bedtime story. Good night, sweetie. Sleep tight. All right. I think I have a thing here. So, character creator, I'm not good at the whole customizing thing. And also, I've noticed Dark Souls hair does not have hair especially similar to my own bedded in here, so this is probably the closest I could get. I'm of the mind that it doesn't really matter a whole lot, because I'll be wearing a helmet and armor and shit, so you're not even gonna get to see this hot bod. Hardly at all, if ever, throughout the playthrough. What is the point? So, let's name it. I'm gonna start as the Knight class. I think it's probably like one of 2 starting classes that are pretty solid. Maybe Warrior's good, I never really started as that. Pyromancer, always good choice. I'm gonna go with Knight. And for the Burial Gift, Fire Gem lets you get an early infusion with your weapon, which is handy. And yeah. Let's get started. Yes. Oh, the assassin gets the stock. That's the press R1 to win weapon. How many graves have been in the Souls series, counting Bloodborne, would you say? These are actually my pajamas as well. Sleep in the same thing. It's surprisingly comfortable, very warm. And hey, right here in the beginning. So one thing I'm going to try to do, so little known fact for those not in the know, I have beaten off Dark Souls 3 already. Shortly after it came out, I marathoned it pretty thoroughly. Well, not thoroughly, I kind of like blazed through it as fast as I could. So I'd like to do the things needed to do to get the hardest to find ending. There's a handy little checklist that is available on the online.com that gives you a sense of the things that you'll want to do. I really dig the knight because it starts with the longsword and a 100% block shield, which is one of the things that were a little harder to find in Dark Souls 2, the 100% block shields. In fact, I don't think there's only like a handful in the game, I think, if I remember right. That wasn't quite backstabbable. Yeah. So I'm going to try to do as many of the things as possible to get, I mean, the side quests are, as you would expect from a From Software Souls game, pretty complicated. Very easy to fuck up completely. Like one of the NPC quest lines I like immediately did not get because I didn't know I was supposed to do a thing a certain amount of times. I didn't do that thing at all, and then the dude I was trying to do the things with just kind of said bye, and yeah. That's alright though, I wasn't expecting to do 100% comprehensive, get it all on the first playthrough. It was more wanting to experience the areas, get a sense of the lore, the atmosphere, the poking, all the things that you love to do in Dark Souls. So, heads up shielding, heads up backstabbing. So let me close the poll on Dark Souls, see who thinks, because that poll is taking up a lot of the stream window. So there you go. Apparently most people watching this have never played any of the Souls games and don't know why they're in the stream right now. Otherwise people thought the best game, Bloodborne, followed by Dark Souls 1 and then Dark Souls 3. I would argue, personally, and this is just my opinion, which is, I mean, let's be honest, it's the correct opinion. It's the only one that matters, the only one you should care about. I think Dark Souls 3 is the best of the bunch. I don't know about Bloodborne, just because I haven't actually played it. I experienced it through the LP with Beefman, but don't have as much of a grip on like the quality of it overall. But between Demons 1, 2, and 3, I think this is the best one. And I mean, like, and I'm also deciding if I want to, this is a risky proposition here. But you know what? We're streaming, and we've got to take risks sometimes. For the treasure. He's actually not bad. You probably get something from killing this guy, but I don't think I'm quite skilled enough to pull that off with a level 1 guy. We'll come back though. Let's just get the adrenaline pumping a little bit. Okay. But anyway, I do think this is the best of the Souls games, and I say that, like, Dark Souls 1, I can see why a lot of people would say that. It's the first one, it left that impression on you. That's all good shit. But you gotta keep in mind, the latter half of that game had some problems. Had some major problems. So if it was like compare Dark Souls 3 to the first half of Dark Souls 1, I would probably say Dark Souls 1 wins, but thinking about everything, the whole, I'd give consistency to this game over Dark Souls 1. And 2, I mean, 2 was like, it was there. I mean, it was solid. It was like, yeah, it's fine, but it didn't like wow me in many spots. This game wowed me in a few spots. Dark Souls 1 definitely wowed me in a few spots. But for consistency, which I think matters a lot, I have to give to this game. This game didn't have, that I can think of, any areas where I was like, get me out of here right now, this area, like, just is awful. I hate it. Had a few tedious areas, but I think that's more tedious as in I was bad at that area and died frequently, which is bad. You don't want that. Let's see if I can... Whoops. Trying to do kick. Well, wanted to kick him off the cliff, but that's fine. Yeah, that dungeon area someone in the chat mentioned, wasn't a huge fan of that area. It was like interesting looking and everything, but like I died a lot in that area as well. Let's say Dark Souls 2 had the, like, Scholar of the First Sin was, like, pretty fine, I guess. It was like a remix of Dark Souls 2. But I don't remember playing it and being like, wow, I'm glad they shuffled that. And it's like just reshuffling of a lot of enemies and items. They Kaizo some of the areas where it's like just, I think even the original had that problem where it's like, hey, here's a bunch of shit that you have to go through on your way to this boss. Have fun doing that. Like, just some of their solutions seemed like, hey, just like beat these guys off as fast as you can. Good luck. There's a lot of them. Really digging the hairstyle. Also, I'm playing on, this patch was released a few days ago, I believe, and people have been saying that there's some stuttering, which I think I just experienced a quick little pause there, which is supposedly a universal thing. Anyway, let's make that guy feel a little better. And I'm sure nothing else. Oh my god, he came alive? I should have hit him a couple more times because I could have. You know, this boss, his name is something I say to From Software a lot. Iudex. Am I right? Come on. You guys know I'm right. I do like how they kind of just throw a not simple boss at you, just right from the get-go. Caught me off guard there. This boss is parryable, but... And, you know, that... Of course they gotta throw in the phase 2 twist. Having low blood sugar, this sort of thing also happens, just FYI. Similar symptoms. See, the knight is nice and well-rounded. It's got solid armor, decent defense, 100% block shield. Like, if you're doing this with, like, the deprived class, which I've never even tried, or, like, the sorcerer class, sorcery, like, takes, like, just is awful at first. The game, unless you get your intelligence up to, like, 50 and 60, you won't even see a like a dent in most enemies. No fast travel yet. Chat, how are things going? You can hear everything okay? Are you feeling okay with my Dark Souls analysis up to this point? Can hear it all? It's been a while since I played. I don't remember like where all the shit is. Everything's fine. Oh, and by the way, once I get to the point where I can, like, since I've played this game before, this isn't going to be like a, you gotta get good and do all the bosses on your own or you suck kind of playthrough. You know, this is going to be a fun, cash type playthrough. Like, I may try a boss on my own at first just to, you know, keep it interesting. Everything, but if, like, a boss dies or a boss sucks, you know, I want to bring in the co-op, bring in the people in the stream watching. So I have a password set up. Which I'll... Oh, he didn't stagger. The password is Cash Souls. CASSOULS. So I think what that means is I won't see any summoning signs unless they're from people who know the password. I don't think that applies to invasions, but correct me if I'm wrong. So I think theoretically I can get invaded by any old dick who wants to invade. And yes, for people watching, this is the PC version of Dark Souls 3. I lack a PlayStation 4 or 360 or a 1. So yeah, this is PC all the way. So if you got the PC... Oh, and someone also mentioned, Ritzler mentioned that... Uh-oh. There's that freeze hang-up. That's gonna get me killed sometime during this playthrough, I guess, until they repatch that. Ritzler mentioned that there is no range for co-op when you're passwording as well, so, like, if I... guess I could really cheese bosses and summon like a level 169 person in here if I really wanted to. Hopefully I'll try. I would request, if you're kind of playing along, you kind of stay within the level range of me, just to like not make enemies and areas too trivial. And like I said, I'll try to do like the bulk of the handiwork on my own, but like if I die and need to go through an area again, or I die to a boss a couple of times, like, yeah, why not summon somebody? Keep it fun, keep it cash. And again, I'm not sure about invaders. So there's an enemy here off the beaten path a little bit that is pretty inconsequential if you are a pyromancer, because you can cheese said enemy by just backing away right to where the enemy resets, goes back to where it started from, and just throw fireballs at it. I did that with a pyromancer character that I first played with. As a knight, it might be a little more challenging. Also, the weapon that the boss drops I probably won't have a use for. So I posted a poll, because I'm a huge fan of polls. I love polls. I have many huge polls. And one of them, I asked people before I started this stream, like, hey, what would you like to see in a build? And it was kind of split, if I recall correctly, between quality builds, so having your strength and dex be pretty high, and just a pure strength build. Pure strength, I think, won out, so I'll probably go with big ass weapons, which is good for a stream, because they're cool, they look neat. Neat to look at. I can't remember if I was supposed to pick up binoculars by this point or not. I was tempted to... Anyway, that's a really tough enemy. Which I might be able to, like, try to kick off the cliff or something. But he's using an Uchi katana that... I mean, look at that. Just look at that shit. Hurts a bunch. It's an Uchi katana, familiar weapon for the Souls people. Let's see if I can do this. How do I get the weapon now? I think if you quit and restart, the item will be somewhere around here. But again, it's the Uchi Katana. It's a very good dex weapon, but since I'm going to be going with more of a strong build. Yeah, someone in the chat mentioned that. Someone in the chat mentioned just reloading the area and it comes back, so. Hopefully if I go like do something else and come back, it'll be here later just so I can say I got it, but I probably will not have a use for it. But it is a very good weapon to pick up, like especially at the very beginning of the game. You need to level up a few stats. Your dex has to be something. And also, did you see the name of the area? When I first played this, well, hang on. So when you look at it like this, it looks a little bit familiar. Like, wait a minute. Can this be? And like my nostalgia like went off. It's like, oh my god. From You Got Me Again. The references. I love the references. Give me all those references. But anyway, I'll get that Uchi Katana eventually. Like resting at a bonfire will probably reset the area. That is a nice area to get for later. And obviously, you know, look at that. There's a ladder you can kick down. There's like a whole thing there. It's like, oh my god. Hidden shit. So much hidden shit. But yes, Firelink Shrine. It's back. It's Firelinky as ever. Great. What's gonna happen next is the stray demon gonna just drop down from the... Hey, speaking of dropping down, my camera gags made me spot an item that I actually don't think I ever got. I don't think I ever looked up there. Worry about that at a later time. Let's talk to some important people, starting with this guy, the... What's he called in Dark Souls 1, or the... who he's similar as, the hopeless soldier, hollow soul, or something like that. You remember him from Dark Souls 1. Different voice actor, though.
Ah, another one roused from the sleep of death. Well, you're not
Crestfallen,
alone.
thank you, Mind Receptacle.
We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we are talking...
I'm gonna make this more cinematic.
Legends with the metal to link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots. Don't you think?
Ugh. It's a creepy laugh. Don't do that again.
What a sick joke. Asking us to seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. We're talking true legends, those who would link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots.
Duh. Poor laughing sad man. He's gotta be uncomfortable too, sitting on that stone step. His back's gotta be, really gotta be hurting him. Poor guy. Let's talk to the more important person.
Welcome to the bonfire, unkindled one. I am a firekeeper.
References!
I tend to the flame, and tend to thee. The lords have left their thrones, and must be delivered to them. To this end, I am at thy side. Ashen One, to be unkindled is to be a vessel for souls. Sovereignless souls will become thy strength.
This ain't my first rodeo, maiden.
I will show thee how.
I know the drill.
Ashen One, bring me souls plucked from their vessels. Ashen One, I will Ashen. Very well, then take nourishment from these sovereignless souls.
I'm so used to skipping that dialogue, I forgot to let it play through at least once for the acolytes in the crowd. So I'm gonna be doing probably a strong build. But in the short term, strength and dex don't matter a whole lot except for meeting the requirements to wield stuff. I am of the opinion that stats like vigor and endurance are more important to raise early on. That's just my opinion, though. It could be wrong, but it's not. These all have soft caps up to a certain point that I don't remember off the top of my head, but I like raising these first, just vigor especially. More HP is always good, just for survivability, and endurance is always good. All-around stat to raise. So we're going to start with those for the time being. When I come across a new cool weapon I want to use, I'll probably up strength. Wait. Yes. It's the beta strategy. There is no adaptability, the trait that they introduced in Dark Souls 2. They were like, nope, fuck that, that was a mistake. Let's not bother with that, so Estus drinking will always be
Farewell, Ashen One.
fast enough, I guess.
May the flames guide thee.
I'm trying to make that catch on in real life, may the flames guide thee, but I mean, I'm mostly getting weird looks.
A pleasure to make thine acquaintance, Ashen One. I am but a humble handmaid of the shrine. Weapons, armor, trinkets, and spells.
But where are they?
I've lots of little things to ease the burden of a weary traveler.
In that candlestick? In those tiny
And
pots?
yes, I'm undead too, but not so charitable as to give my goods away. Ashen One, fetch souls and bring them to me.
Not a dog.
As is thy wont? No?
Yeah, you're right. I love souls. Not echoes. Had to kick that habit a while ago. So, Shrine, Handmaiden, whatever her name is, all-around shopkeeper person. This key unlocks the locked door that we saw earlier. I don't want that eventually, I just have a hard time, like, 20,000 souls is a lot early on, so I tend to, or at least in my first playthrough, I tended to wait a good bit for that. Dried fingering. That's always great. Yeah, that resets your invader counter if you're into PvP. Healing stuff, I'm not going to be using any spells, some sorcery. Like I said earlier, being a sorcerer, like, really sucks butts early on. Would not recommend it. If you're like a super advanced player, then by all means, but... And, I mean, none of this armor is as good as what I have on right now, because the knight has very solid starting gear. Let's see, so I got the summoning stone, which is important. Again, password cache souls. Oh, I think I'm gonna want a few of these. As in 2, because that's all I can afford. Except for, oh yeah, I can eat souls though.
Ashen One, if my wares are not to thy satisfaction, bring me umbral ash. With ash, I'll fashion new wares. Is it not our sorry fate to sup on death?
Sup, death? Ugh. I will say the laugh ratio, the ratio of NPCs to laughing.
Ashen One, is it?
Dark Souls 2, like, everybody laughed at their not jokes. It was weird.
Ashen One,
This game, that's not quite as a happening. Everybody laughed. What's up with that? Dark Souls 1, it's been so long since I played. I don't remember if everybody was LOLing IRL or not. I'm sure there were situations where it happened. Like, everything is hilarious. In Dark Souls 2, though. Is that enough for another level?
Very well then.
Yeah. You know, you couldn't just have the menu come up. In one of the earlier games, they had the menu just come right up. And you didn't have to cycle through dialogue. I swear.
Farewell, Ashen One.
Yeah. Buy one more firebomb while we're in the neighborhood. And then
Ashen One.
talk to a familiar fellow.
Well, A newcomer, I see. I am Andre. I serve at this shrine.
Andre is a
as
giant.
humble smith,
Not really.
forging
Well, maybe he
weapons.
is. He stood up, he'd be
You're
much
in
taller.
search of the Lords of Cinder, I trust. A toilsome journey, I'd wager. You'll require good arms.
He, like, really stares when he talks to you.
Weapons. I am a smith. Such is my purpose.
Like, look how engaged he is in the conversation. Amazing. So, I do have that fire gem I started out with, but I don't have... Wait, do I? Yeah, I need a fire... Wait. No, I'm sorry, I was thinking of... I'm thinking of the other gems that you need for the special infusions, like Sharp, Refined, and whatnot. So yeah, all you need is the gem, which we're good on. I don't have the souls to do it. But putting fire on your weapon can make the first bit of the game pretty easy. And also, So hey, another new thing. Flasks. What the heck? 2? Blue? What is this? No. Is what you asked. So there is kind of like demon souls. Magic is no longer at like you have X amount of casts, you now have magic points. Like demon souls. Wow. And blue flask kills your magic meter, your FP, your flower points. Mario RPG appreciation there. But since I'm not going to be doing much in the way of magic, I don't need it. Although magic is not used just for spells, but also for weapon arts. Every weapon has a secondary unique moveset that uses that meter. I'll say they're quite cool, but I found that I hardly ever use them. In fact, in my first playthrough, I don't think I ever used the weapon arts for the weapons that I had in my possession. So let's see. I'm gonna reference the checklist. Again, this is not a blind playthrough. I've played through the game before, I'm trying to be comprehensive. Just seeing if there's anything that I should do before I move on, but I don't think there is. Nothing like missable is the important thing. And also, just realized when I click on the game, I don't want to attack the handmaiden by mistake. But yes, Hyvak, you're correct. Weapon arts, or warts for short, which is what we can refer to them as, are cool. Also, there's a weapon I have in mind that I'm probably going to want to use on this character once I build up the requisite stats and everything. Oh, actually, I want to say, when I first played through this, I could not figure out how to get out of here, because I would come up here, no prompt would come up, so I'd explore the rest of the shrine, be like, where am I going? I'm lost, and then finally I came up to I was like, oh, from here. I spent quite a while in Firelink Shrine. Oh yeah, there's a guy up here. Like, where do I go?
All that unkindled, and a seeker of lords.
I am sitting in the big boy chair.
Ludleth of Corland. Look not in bewilderment as I say. I linked the fire long ago, becoming the Lord of Sin.
Oh, you're serious?
If substantiation be thy want, set thine eyes upon my charred corpse.
I don't have binoculars, I can't.
This sad cadaver. No need to be coy. Have a closer look.
Ugh. Oh, I don't think I got the gesture from Andre.
Knowest
Thank you
thou
for
of
reminding
our
me.
brothers? 5 thrones will take 5 lords as kindling for the linking of the
It's actually incredibly important and something I kind of
The
forgot about,
fast-fading flame
and it's important for the end game, so
to
there was some
preserve
confusion
this
on my part towards the end.
a reenactment of the first linking of the fire.
These thrones are very important. You should not
So
forget
it
about
is.
them.
I became a lord of Cinder. I may be but small, but I will die a colossus.
Somebody's got a complex.
No style of
Oh no, not again! Ah! Let's talk to Andre the Giant, make sure... Got the gesture.
Just wasn't it?
I think I just need to talk to him.
Weapons and protection are sturdy enough by and large, but when overused, they'll eventually...
Let me tell you about gameplay
When
mechanics.
durability is low, repair becomes a necessity. Use a powder, or simply rest at a bonfire. But should...
Press the action button, Snake, to rest at a bonfire.
I'll hammer them back into shape. They take no pleasure in breaking, I assure ye. So...
Just say you. Don't be all ye old, Andre.
There are two ways to smith weapons. Simple reinforcement is one, and infusion the other. Reinforcement is straightforward.
I cannot think of a single time in the game where something broke.
Infusion
They're
is a more
pretty
advanced
generous
form
with
of
durability
smithing.
this time. In Dark Souls 2, they were
Infuses
very
an
stingy with durability, and things would break quite easily, but
requires titanite,
here they're pretty
infusion
casual about it.
requires gems.
Like, just swing your shit, it's
Bring
fine.
the stones, and I'll do the smithing. It's my purpose, after all. In battle,
Just say my,
the weapons
you.
are your only friends. Forge them well, and they won't let you down.
Well, that's okay. Hurrah for Andre. This is a 100%
Be
gesture run.
careful. I don't want to see my work squandered.
From Patch This, I am phasing through his muscular man arms. Alright, I think that's everything we need to do here. So, if y'all are feeling cozy, let's say we start doing some souls and shit. Ta-da! Fortunately, no undead boner shards. If you played Dark Souls 2, that should be a sort of familiar term. I think they were called something else, but they do the same thing. Make your flasks more powerful. Let's go to Lothric. I think this is about the time that people who are using the password, again, PC version, the personal computer version, can do cache stuff with me, but I'll probably explore the bulk of the area. And yes, look, the carvings are back. I forget, did Bloodborne have any equivalent to those? Beef didn't do a whole lot of co-op stuff that I saw, at least, so not sure if that exists or not. If it doesn't, then Bloodborne is definitely worse than this. And yes, Llama FIL PC does stand for properly cached.